Good afternoon. I'm Alvin Bragg, the District Attorney of New York County, joined by Terry Rosenblatt, who heads our post-conviction justice unit, and by Mr. Eric Renfro, counsel to Mr. Lopez. I'm going to make some brief remarks and then turn it to Mr. Lopez. I'm honored to be standing here and honored that our motion to vacate Mr. Lopez's conviction and dismiss the indictment against him was granted a short time ago by Judge Bybin. I want to first and foremost acknowledge what Mr. Lopez has been through. I'm sorry for the circumstances that led to this day, but I hope that this moment is a step forward for him and his loved ones. I want to thank the court for its consideration in studying and granting this motion. I want to thank Ms. Rosenblatt for not just today's work, but her leadership of a best practices unit and all of the work that she does day in and day out. I also want to thank Karina Patel, an analyst in the unit, for her essential role. And I want to thank Mr. Renfro. A hallmark of our work in this area is a collaborative approach, and I could not think of a better colleague at the bar to have explored this issue and reinvestigated this issue. So I thank you for joining us in this collaborative effort and working in good faith with us. Today is an important moment, not just for the DA's office, but for Manhattan, New York City, and the entire criminal justice system. Many largely forgot that there were 6 who were falsely accused of rape of the Central Park jogger. Today, Mr. Lopez joined the other 5 who had their convictions vacated. What is so striking to me is how young Mr. Lopez was when both he was arrested and then when he pled guilty under extraordinary pressure. He saw the outcome of 2 trials, not 1, but 2 trials of the 5 other teenagers charged before him. He was questioned in the middle of the night. He was implicated by unreliable forensic evidence and by statements. And as many of you will recall, he was up against incredible public scrutiny. I was roughly about the same age as Mr. Lopez when he pled guilty, and I remember that chapter in my life. I can remember going past Central Park on the way home from school every day. I can remember going from school to the park to play. And the shadow of that case in that moment in our criminal justice history was with me day by day, and to this day. Also want to note the broader societal implications of unjust convictions. A criminal record, as many of you know, prevents people from getting jobs or finding housing, and it includes also increasing the likelihood of recidivism. What we also don't often talk about is how it directly harms public safety. When we accuse the wrong person of committing a violent crime, it means we fail to ensure real accountability. We also know demonstrably its effect on the criminal justice system. I've been a prosecutor for 20 years, and I've sat in rooms across from witnesses and victims that don't trust the system, and they've articulated it to me, sometimes in very, very sharp words. It is matters like this that hamper that trust and thereby, by extension, our public safety. And it is my hope that today, which first and foremost is Mr. Lopez's day, but also by extension, the impact on the perception of our system and by extension, the impact on public safety. This work is of the utmost importance to me and the entire District Attorney's Office. We will continue, and as I said, it's a matter of fundamental fairness, but also fundamentally a matter of public safety. I'll now turn it over to Mr. Lopez's counsel,
do just want to, again, thank DA Bragg. I do believe that I mostly said everything I have to say on the record. So really, thank you to everyone who's been involved in this, including Ruben Willis's organization, Policy Inc., referred Mr. Lopez to me, and they're trying to do work with incarcerated or other wrongly convicted people to try and help restore their justice and their rights. And just Mr. Lopez is looking for privacy at this time, but thank you again to ADA Rosenblatt and DA Bragg. This moment and its importance is not lost on me. It's not lost on me either that it's two African-American attorneys up here joining in this motion, and I'm just really happy for Mr. Lopez today.
Again, want to acknowledge Ms. Rosenblatt. She did all of her work on the papers and will assist me in answering any on-the-record questions, which we can move to now. Should I call or you're going to call?
If I could ask you a question, sir. Where's your client? Yes, please. Your client has been employed. If you could just describe what this means to him.
I don't think I could describe what this means to him. I think that what I would say is that, you know, and I don't know how much he's comfortable with me saying, but I would say that I couldn't imagine having gone through this, and I think that he's, you know, tremendously strong for having endured it. So I'm sure that he's feeling a range of emotions, but I'm hoping today, at the very least, vindicated, because I think that there were a lot of awful things that were said about him that I know were not true at the time they were said, and they were not true today.
Did he say anything to you? It was hard to see. Did he love you or something?
He said thank you. You know, I mean, I think that, again, this has been, you know, incredibly, I can't imagine what this would have been like for this, so, but I would, you know, just otherwise like to keep our, you know, private conversations between me and him, but I, you know, just very happy for him today.
How long was Mr. Lopez seeking his conviction reversed?
I don't know exactly how long. I know that he has seen other lawyers prior to me. We met in, I believe, the end of 2019, and then, you know, COVID kind of happened, so I hadn't wanted to make the application and to just sit on a desk, you know, unnoticed, and so we eventually found the right time and got the ball rolling.
But he mentioned in 2019 with the express purpose of
Yes.
For people who aren't familiar with the process of the prosecutor overturning the first 5 convictions, can you explain why Mr. Lopez's case was not included in that process?
So, I'm not privy to that. I could hazard my legal guesses. I think, you know, why I started by thanking the judge for allowing us this opportunity to be heard today is that that someone would plead guilty for something they didn't do is not something that the legal system always recognizes. But I'm glad that it was today.
How much time did he actually spend in jail?
I believe approximately 4 years.
This question's for the DA. Are there any plans to overturn conviction on the 7th Vacate, the same as Michael Briscoe?
We're focused today on Mr. Lopez, and you know, as our website indicates, and as Ms. Rosenblatt and I've done a lot of outreach to the bar over the past 6 months. We take you know, applications and petitions as they come in.
Mr. Lopez, given the injustice that he has dealt with, would he be seeking some sort of financial restitution or bond?
I don't know that I'm in a position to comment on that. I think, you know, first and foremost, we thought about today and trying to fix this. I'm just focused on today.
Okay, approximately how long did it take to review Mr. Lopez's case and then come to this decision?
So from my perspective, you know, we had, as counsel just said, it was pending in the office when I arrived. So Ms. Rosenblatt and I have been working on it, you know, since the commencement of this administration, doing the kind of things that are set forth in our motion papers.
You said on the record the reasons why you weren't reporting the case. The only reason you just say what reasons.
Sure, and you know, one of the reasons the motion papers are unsealed, so they're laid out there, but I'll do the highlights that did in court. You know, the first is, you know, forensic analysis. You know, we look back at the hair comparison information and looked at that, what we believe kind of faulty analysis. Absent that, there's no evidence connecting Mr. Lopez physically to any of the charged conduct. This is also not new terrain, right? If you look at the vacators that were done in the early 2000s for the other 5 who were charged with the rape on the indictment, we drew from that analysis as well. The other type of information that I put on the record was the statements, and I think many of you are familiar. You know, statements given by very young people that have you know, previously been recanted, and some of those statements were also, you know, some of those statements and the issues with them form the basis for the prior vacators arising from this indictment. So there's other parts of our analysis, but those are the 2 that I put on the record. So as to the first part of the sealing, the motion papers are going to be unsealed, so they're available for review. And you're asking me sort of back in 2002? You know, I don't know. I was not there. As I said, I kind of followed this, you know, from afar. First as a youth growing up in Harlem, and then later as a student of the legal system. You know, some of the issues in this matter are ones that have been focused on in other prior exonerations, you know, like statements that later are recanted, or like forensic evidence. So, I mean, one thing that probably bears saying why I think this is a significant moment today, you know, something that we all should bear in mind, is some of the issues we see in this case, we've seen in other cases that many of you may have covered as well. So these are sobering issues, but unique aggregate circumstances, but the sort of individual issues are ones that we see in other cases.
Did the fact that Mr. Lopez was charged with robbery instead of rape have anything to do with why he wasn't included in the first constituted exonerate the first trial?
I can't speak to why ultimately, but I think as counsel indicated, you know, the significant legal distinction, which may have been given some weight back then, was that there were trial convictions for the other 5 who were initially on the indictment for rape, as compared to his plea conviction. So we're all speculating because we were not there in 2002, but that is a legal distinction.
Can you speak specifically about what he lost during those 4 years while he was in prison? Anything you can say about him, or what he lost?
Yeah, I know Mr. Lopez is seeking privacy at this time, but you know, so I don't want to speak too much for him, but I would guess that anyone in that situation, knowing they were innocent, you lose time with your family, you know, I think even past those 4 years, you know, how that would impact you going forward with your life. I think this was, you know, greatly impactful. And I think, you know, that's why, as I said when I spoke on the record, he asked me that question, you know, what if it were you? So I think I'd almost answer it with the question of what would you have lost if you lost those 4 years?
Two more questions.
I don't want to speak for him. I know he's looking for privacy.
Do you, what has your office learned from a case like this that possibly you would do differently when seeking matter?
Yeah, well, so that's a significant, you know, pillar of our work in this space, which is to apply lessons learned prospectively. And so some of it was response to the prior question, you know, when we think about, you know, how interviews are conducted, you know, statements, reliance on forensics, you know, all things that we have been considering and will continue to consider. One last question.
You mentioned public safety and public perception within the criminal justice system. You talked about what it's like on the other side. What's your message today for public safety within key New York City? What's your message with what you did today, what the court did today, for those folks who have that perception issue when it comes to criminal justice?
Well, you know, I'm not going to tell people what to think or what to perceive, but my hope is that for a matter that's been closely followed like this one has, that the judge's order today helps to move the needle, and those who have questions and perceive injustice in our system say that today a judge ordered a vacater of conviction and justice was done. Thank you.